I've been a teacher for 10 years and spent the first 5 years of my career teaching in a Catholic school. A good 20 years before I started there, one of the Dominican sisters, an elderly woman who taught theology classes, passed away of natural causes in her classroom one evening and was found the next morning by the custodians. Sister Marie was well known and loved. She had a page dedicated to her in the yearbook that year. Anyway, if you've never been a first-year teacher, it's freaking hard. There was never enough time during the day to get things done, and I ended up spending many evenings at my desk trying to get it all done. There were times when I was there until 8 or 9, long after the building was empty. A couple of months in, around the start of the second 9 weeks, I was sitting in my classroom grading papers after everyone else had gone. I got a weird fuzzy feeling, not entirely unpleasant, and a rosary that I had hanging on a hook near my desk moved back and forth just a bit. The air wasn't on, and there was no draft. I thought it odd, but chalked it up to being tired and a little on edge due to stress. Another night, the same thing happened, and a little later, one of the big fire doors in the hallway came unlatched and slammed shut. Another time, I got that same fuzzy feeling, and the motion-activated lights in the hallway came on. Those things happened a good bit. Eventually, I started going home earlier around the middle of my second year and never had it happen again. I looked all over the place, thinking there was someone else in the building. Yeah, probably a dumb idea in hindsight, but I was 24 and invincible. I never could find anyone, and my car was the only one in the lot. Anyway, I never felt scared or creeped out like a lot of folks describe when encountering ghosts, but I also never could find a good explanation. For context, this happened to me while camping on the school grounds, something related to Girl Scouts. Now this story is quite short because it was a personal experience and only the important details I remembered. Each day, we were assigned different roles to help during eating hours. At that time, my friend MJ and I were chosen to be on dish duty, which meant we were to wash the dishes after meals. While our other teammates were busy cooking and helping, MJ and I were instructed to take a break while waiting for them. We were walking back to our room, laughing, because we remembered one of our classmates said that one of the Boy Scouts from the school had an attractive cousin. It was really funny, though. So, this was a long time ago, but I still remember it vividly since it spooked me out. I was in 3rd or 4th grade at the time. We entered our room and went to the single stall at the corner, which was our washroom. MJ was ahead of me and arrived at the stall first. She told me that someone was inside because she heard the faucet running and the toilet flushing. So, we waited in line for the person to come out. We kept on waiting until MJ said she had to go out and check on our classmates and schoolmates. She left me there, and I continued waiting for so long. I was sure someone was in there because the faucet was obviously running and the toilet flushed. Our toilet's flush system was broken too, so an object's weight couldn't have triggered the flush button. It had to be flushed manually. But it was odd. The stall's light was turned off. About 10 minutes later, MJ came back to check if I was done taking a bath. I explained how the person still hadn't come out. We tried knocking, but nobody answered. So, we opened the unlocked door. No one was inside, and the faucet was turned off. I was very scared at that time. The faucet could have been running because our teacher who was in the room could have turned it on. But no, I had been there the whole time, keeping my eye on the washroom stall. so it would be impossible because the faucet was turned off tight when we opened it, and the flushing too. I still wonder what it could have been. I work as a receptionist at a swim school. I'm the first person you see when you enter, and you can't get through the building without passing me. Today was super empty due to renovations, so the instructors were doing drills. There's a camera facing the entrance towards the front desk, and another camera behind the front desk pointing towards the entrance. The director at that location is always vigilant through the cameras. Down a hallway is the locker room, and to enter it, you have to pass a big window that's facing the pool. There's no camera in that hallway. Since it was empty, I started reading The Stand by Stephen King on the computer. Even if I'm reading, I'm always vigilant. I saw the next student wouldn't be there for another hour, so I was relaxed until my director called me. She asked me if I asked the man that came in if he was there for scheduled classes. I was confused and asked who, and she repeated herself. I started apologizing. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't see anyone come in." Then she hangs up and heads towards the locker room through the pool deck. She comes back out and asks a male instructor to check the men's locker room, and they find no one. There is no other exit towards the locker room, and I saw no one. I asked my supervisor, who confirmed that's what happened, couldn't hear through the glass, and then asked another instructor if they saw anybody. He said that one of the female instructors said she waved to a boy heading into the locker room, but again, nobody was there. I find it so strange that whatever they saw, I didn't see even though you had to enter through the front. I don't know whether to be thankful or bummed. There are two types of school teachers, those who come early and those who stay late. I have always been one of the former, and most days arrive at school prior to sunup. This is a story that happened around 6:30 a.m. before the light of day. It's also something I still think of often because it's extremely disturbing. The school I was working at during this time in my career, 2020, had a large parking lot in the back of the school that was unseen from the main road. It was approximately a quarter of a mile back because the school had been built onto. The point is that unless you knew it was back there, you wouldn't go looking for it. I was the first person there that morning, as usual, and was waiting to hear the end of a newscast when I saw headlights pull in behind me. This was out of the ordinary because most teachers wouldn't show up until about 7 a.m. I was also thrown due to the fact that this person left their lights on, and instead of parking in a space, they stayed behind me, parked at an angle. I thought about getting out of the car, but decided I'd wait until more teachers showed up. At first, I thought maybe it was a parent, but the more I watched them, I began to think this person was sinister as they rolled down their window and smoked a cigarette. It was a white male with a scraggly beard and hair, a rough appearance. We sat there in total silence for 15 to 20 minutes, and all the while, this guy never took his eye off the back of that school. When a few teachers showed up, I hopped out of my car, and they too thought he was odd. I called my principal. He didn't answer. But later I mentioned this entire story to our campus cop. He said he'd check the cameras. Later, by third period, the cop came looking for me, and he seemed rattled. He wanted to know if by chance I'd gotten the car's plate. I didn't. He looked dejected when I said, "No," and then he turned to me and said that he'd watched this guy pull in at 6:30 and then wait, watching for about an hour or more, only to leave. He had no reason to be there. and the police officer said the man's body language and overall vibe was very concerning. In hindsight, I don't think he was interested in me or the teachers, but instead may have been watching the children. This is a story I still think of. It truly leaves me asking one question. Why was he there when he had no reason to be? And what were his motives to pull into a hidden school parking lot at 6:30 a.m., where kids begin arriving very early after being dropped off by their working parents? At my university, there's a castle just off campus that is home to a secret society. The secret society goes back to the 1800s, and obviously everything they do is kept under serious wraps. On Halloween a couple of years ago, some friends and I went to this castle because we thought it would be fun to go by the creepy castle on Halloween. I had done some research beforehand on the secret society, and there were many articles tying them to demonic and weird stuff, so I thought it would be perfect for Halloween. Anyways, the road to the castle is at the end of a residential street, and you have to walk on a gravel path into the woods to get to it. As we were walking up to the castle, we heard a woman let out the most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard. At that moment, we all ran back to the residential road. Most of the people we were with decided to head back to campus because they were seriously freaked out, but a few of us stayed. We walked back over to the castle, and this time, we noticed people standing on top of the castle with black hooded robes. Once we noticed them, they immediately started throwing rocks at us. At that point, we decided to leave, but as we made our way down the path, we heard what sounded like Latin chanting coming from the castle. When we made it back to the actual road, we saw some other students who came from the woods behind the castle. They mentioned that they also heard the woman scream, and that they were also just as freaked out as us. As we're talking, we hear the sound of a little boy yelling, "Help!" And then again, "Someone please help!" It was coming from the direction of the castle, so we decided to go back, because obviously this kid needed help. When we got there, we noticed that the number of hooded figures had doubled, and they were all looking at us from the roof of the castle. We stood there for a few minutes, just staring at them, but we decided it was best to leave because they had already shown hostility. This experience honestly shook me, but I thought maybe it's just a Halloween prank. But the more I started thinking about it, I realized I wasn't so sure. We were out there for about 2 hours, and our group and the other group of students were the only ones out there that whole time. Why would they come up with some elaborate scheme for only 10 people? And how could I explain the screaming woman and kid if it was just a prank? I know it sounds far-fetched, but I think something really happened that night. Thanks for watching our video. Have you ever had a really scary experience? We want to hear about it. You can tell us in 2 ways. Option 1 is, write down what happened and email it to us. The email address is in the description below. We're excited to read your story and learn all about what happened. And the second option is, record your story using your phone's recording feature. Make sure the sound is good, with no background noise. We want to make sure everyone can hear your scary story clearly. Pick whichever option works best for you, and let's explore your spooky experiences together. We're looking forward to hearing from you. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.